Imagine living your entire life inside a system you never signed up for. A system so old and carefully engineered that it decides what you can own, what you can build, and even how far your dreams can go. This system isn't a government, religion, or corporation. It's something far more powerful. It has money, and the most shocking truth about money is that it was never created to set you free. It was designed from the beginning to measure you, limit you, and control you. But before we unfold this hidden history, hit subscribe to Money Math Documentary, because what you're about to learn does not appear in textbooks, classrooms, or news headlines. Once you see the truth behind the world's money system, you'll never unsee it. Long before numbers danced across digital screens, humans lived in a world of direct exchange. Wheat for tools, cattle for grain, goods for goods. No bankers, no interest, no invisible rulers. Currency wasn't needed because value was physical. But as societies grew, kings and rulers discovered a terrifyingly effective idea. Whoever controls money doesn't just control the economy. They control people. Around 3000 BC in ancient Mesopotamia, rulers issued clay tablets representing grain stored in temples. These weren't simple receipts. They were instruments of power. If you wanted food, land, protection, or the right to participate in society, you needed the king's tablet. And the king could create as many of these tablets as he wished. This was the world's first version of fiat currency. Money created not from gold or silver, but from authority, from command, from control. As kingdoms expanded, their appetite for war grew. Armies needed salaries, blacksmiths needed payment, and rulers needed a new way to force obedience. So gold coins entered the world stage, stamped with the king's face. Not because gold had magical value, but because the king controlled the minds and controlled the punishment for not accepting his coin. The cycle was simple. The king demanded taxes in his own currency. The people had no choice but to work for it. The money flowed to the king and then back to the people, creating a closed loop of dominance. The earliest forms of money weren't created for convenience. They were created as a leash. For centuries, money crawled through history as a hybrid of metal and monarchy. But real financial control would not arrive until the 1600s. That's when Europe accidentally invented the greatest trick in the history of civilization: central banking. In 1694, England was drowning in debt from its war with France. It needed money it didn't have. So the government partnered with wealthy merchants to create the Bank of England, the world's first central bank. What happened next changed everything. Instead of borrowing real gold or silver, the bank issued paper promises, IOUs representing money that didn't actually exist yet. The government used those promises as currency. Suddenly, money was no longer a thing you mined or grew. It was something you promised. Debt became money. This wasn't an economic evolution, it was a psychological revolution. The world discovered that if enough people believe a promise, the promise becomes power. And those who issue the promises become the hidden rulers. Over the next 2 centuries, banking empires multiplied. Nations realized that debt wasn't a burden, it was a weapon. If a ruler could borrow from the future, he didn't need the approval of the present. Money became a story backed by nothing but confidence, interest, and force. The United States eventually joined this new era when it created the Federal Reserve in 1913. Hidden behind patriotic language and public purpose, the Federal Reserve was actually a cartel of private banks granted the power to control America as money supply. They could expand credit, contract credit, or reshape entire markets simply by adjusting interest rates. From that moment on, money in America was no longer controlled by the people. It was controlled by those who decided how much money should exist, when it should exist, and who should receive it first. But the most dramatic twist happened in 1971. President Richard Nixon ended the gold standard, disconnecting the dollar from any physical backing. Overnight, money transformed from a tangible object into a pure belief system, a story the government needed everyone to trust. Fiat currency, money by decree, became the global standard. Dollars, euros, yen, none of them backed by anything real, only by faith. This change unlocked something dangerous. Without gold as a limit, governments could now print unlimited money. Banks could issue unlimited loans. Corporations could drown in debt without drowning in consequences. Citizens were encouraged to borrow for houses, cars, education, weddings, even groceries. The more people borrowed, the richer the lenders became. Debt became the world's most profitable product. By the early 2000s, the system was overflowing with illusions. Banks weren't just lending money, they were inventing it through credit, packaging mortgages into financial products and selling them to investors who thought they were safe. Until 2008, when the illusion cracked, banks collapsed, markets collapsed, confidence collapsed, and the world stood face to face with the truth: the system survives only as long as people believe in it. To prevent total collapse, central banks printed trillions of dollars out of thin air. They didn't fix the system. They inflated it back to life. Instead of curing the disease, they fed it steroids. Today, global debt stands at over $315 trillion, triple the size of the world's entire economy. Nations owe money. Corporations owe money. Families owe money. Everyone owes someone, except the people who create the debt in the first place. This is the final twist. The rich don't play the debt game. They own it. They lend money, buy government bonds, collect interest, and acquire assets that inflate in value. Meanwhile, the average citizen works, borrows, pays. Our EPEATS, locked in a loop designed generations before they were born. Every major collapse in history, Rome, Weimar Germany, Argentina, Greece, all came down to the same thing. People lost trust in money. Because money isn't real. It's belief. It's confidence. It's obedience woven into paper, plastic, and pixels. And yet the illusion holds. Not because it's perfect, but because there is no alternative. If people stop believing in money, the world stops moving. So here are the truths you're not supposed to know. Money is not wealth. It is a system of control. Debt is not a mistake. It is the foundation. Confidence is not optional. It is the fuel. You live inside a system designed not to empower you, but to manage you. Money doesn't survive on truth. It survives on lies, loans, and confidence. And now that you know this history, the question becomes, how much longer can this illusion last? If this opened your eyes, smash subscribe to Money Math Documentary, where we expose the systems built to control you so you can finally learn to control them.